Hello there, everybody. How are y'all doing tonight? I know we started very late tonight, but like I said, I was terrible. I woke up super late. I think last night I might have gone a bit too long last night, and yeah, definitely felt it. Definitely kind of. Actually, no, it's not even that. I just could not sleep for whatever reason. I don't know what it was. The night after, like, for whatever reason, like, night afterwards, I could not sleep. I don't know what happened. I was just like, I couldn't get to sleep until the sun was already up. Jesus Christ, it was terrible. But we are here now. We are here. And that, honestly, I think that's what matters. That's what matters is hello there. But, so, Hellish Quart. Hellish Quart is a game I have been following. I've seen it around for a while. I didn't know much about it, but it's one of those things, I'd seen it for a while and I was like, this looks interesting. I don't know much about this. I don't even know where to start with this thing. But, well, since then, I've definitely, I've played a bit of it off stream. I am very, very bad at it. Like, wow. Oh, first of all, I'm not surprised that I'm very bad at it. It's not an easy game. Let's not even pretend otherwise. Especially with how much of it hinges on the fact that a single hit can end the fight. Hence, like I said, welcome back, Bushido Blade. This game works it is very much. I don't know how familiar any of y'all might be with Bushido Blade, but there is a very good reason I make that comparison. I never played much of Bushido Blade, but I played enough of it to understand some of how it works. Again, not a game I was ever very good at, but one that I had played a little bit of at one point. Because, it was like something that I think somebody had it. We played it. Neither of us knew what we were doing. We were just swinging around wildly. But it was just such an interesting game because it was a fighting game that everyone, and I think that's the big thing. That's the reason why we liked it. It was a fighting game that everyone was bad at. And and that was kind of an appeal to that. It was kind of an appeal to the fact that nobody was good at it. Nobody I knew. I'm not saying there's nobody ever who was good at. Nobody that I knew at the time was good at Bushido Blade. It's like we would play like Tekken or whatever, right? And some of us were terrible at Tekken, but there was like one of us who was pretty good at it. And nobody wanted to play it because that one person was good at it. They just come and whoop everyone's ass, and it felt like you couldn't even play the game. That was like always the thing with fighting games is it really often does feel like you're not allowed to, if there's a significant skill gap between you and somebody else and they are not hiding their skill level, that's the key thing. They're not hiding their skill level. It really very often feels like you're not allowed to play the game. And this kind of also gets into one of the things I think is ultimately a big problem with fighting games. Not just that, but more specifically, there's a weird gap. I'm not the only person who said this, but I'm not the only person who said this. People who know fighting games better than me have also brought this up. That one of the biggest problems with fighting games as a whole is a lack of mid-level players. You either have people who've been doing right now, a lot of the state of fighting games right now is you either have people who've been playing these games for years and years, like back when, far back to when the game first came out, and they're like super high level. They know the game inside and out. And then you have new players who've never touched a fight. You might have never even touched a fighting game until very recently. And there's nobody there. It's not just that there's no players there. There's just not even anything there to bridge that gap. You don't have good campaigns or story modes to help new players learn the game. You don't have mid-level players for new players to get that first experience of a difficult fight without feeling like they're not allowed to play the game. And there's so much going on with that. And I genuinely do believe that games like Bushido Blade, Hellish Quart, Bushido Blade, and stuff like that, because they're so strange, because it is, especially like by the standard of fighting games, they're so strange that I think they are very useful for bridging those gaps. because something like Bushido Blade, like Hellish Quart, like Half Sword. That's another game. I don't know much about Half Sword, but I'm gonna throw it in here because I do feel like it may be at least relevant to some degree. There is that element of decisiveness in the fights where if you get a lucky, even if you're a new player, you're just flailing around, if you get a lucky hit in, that might decide the fight completely. And I think that element of chaos, of unpredictability, that I feel like I also feel like is often derided as an impediment to getting in the way of skill expression and ideas like that. I feel like that is not only beneficial, but especially in a lot of games, downright necessary for the overall health of the game. It's why, for example, I've always felt like, just read another example here, Super Smash Brothers. It's why I always feel like Super Smash Brothers has to be played with items. It has to be played with items, and it has to be played on non-Omega mode stages. It has to be played on the original versions of the stage with their built-in hazards, because it's those elements of chaos, unpredictability, and I don't even know if there's like another, I don't even know if I need to say another word for it, but those elements of chaos and unpredictability, and the fact that you have to adapt to them, despite what so many competitive players will bitch and moan and whine and cry about, oh, it gets in the way of skill expression. The fact that it forces you to adapt, the fact that it forces you to account for things that are not perfectly predictable, things that aren't just, you know, following the flow chart of press the buttons perfectly. That does something for the long-term health of a game. It creates these scenarios where you don't just have veteran players effectively bullying new players, even if they don't mean to. Because that's the thing I should say. Even if it's not intentional, the outcome, the impact very much on new players is the same, where it comes across as almost as if they're being bullied, whether it's a new player, you know, playing honestly, and as a result that, you know, a veteran player playing honestly, and as a result that new player doesn't get to play the game because everything they do, you know, they are not even given an opportunity to basically, even to, for all intents and purposes, play the game. They're not allowed to play the game because the veteran player is just so oppressively dominant, or that veteran player dials themselves back, but it becomes very obvious to a new player that that veteran player is going easy on them. And even though the intent is good, it ends up being negatively received. I feel like that is what those elements of chaos are there to do. They are there to allow a veteran player to play with somebody who is new, play honestly, but not utterly dominate to the point where a new player is not allowed to play the game. And I feel like that's something more people need to embrace. They need to embrace those elements of chaos, even if it's only when you have high-level players mixed with low-level players, because that element of chaos fosters those mid-level players who bridge the gap between the high-level and new players. And if you can't build that bridge, you're going to see communities die off or get snapped up by bad actors. Look what happened with the Evo, for example. Because you don't have that very strong community there, you're going to have bad actors come and try and snap up communities and take control of and dominate them. Thankfully, there are people who have, you know, gone counter to what happened with Evo because of that. But I feel like that is a conversation that I think needs to be had, and it's not just fighting games. Any sort of game that is intended, that has a substantial competitive scene to it, really needs to ask itself, are all of these extra rules put in for the sake of quote-unquote skill expression in a competitive setting ultimately detrimental to the long-term health of a game and its community? even if when two high-level players are playing together, you bring all those rules back in, I think having those elements of chaos there can be very useful, again, for the fostering of the community and for keeping and for breaking the image of a lot of competitive scenes as being exclusionary, pretentious, or, as I know, as some people, a lot of people fight over this term and whether it's good or bad or whatever, but I am saying this as neutrally, not even neutral, I'm saying this in the lens of perception, as pretentious, exclusionary, gatekeepy, and so on. Again, this is through the lens of perception. So even if you're one of those people who thinks, oh, gatekeeping is so great and based or whatever, I want you to understand that I am talking from the lens of how that is perceived. Because ultimately, that perception of pretentiousness is not good for long-term health. And that is a lesson that I feel like I really would like more people to really take to heart. But anyways, but since we started late, let's actually, you know, and I don't really have much else to say there. I don't really have much else to say there. Let's jump into it and actually show you what this game is. So, like I said, I have been playing this a little bit off stream, just as like practice kind of stuff, just to see how bad I am at this game, because it turns out I am pretty damn bad at it. I've done some training stuff. I've done a couple of like just single fights like this. So let's get so let's grab something there. No double hits counting. And who are we going to play as? I haven't played as everyone. I have not played as everyone, but so the first thing that caught me in, that pulled me into this game, was seeing this character right here, Marta. So she uses a rapier, but more specifically, she uses a rapier in the Spanish style. And so actually, let me get one of the other character I know for sure uses a rapier, Marie here, to show you what the difference there is. Because there's a few different styles of rapier fencing throughout history. And two of the more prominent being the being the Spanish and Italian styles. Marta here uses a rapier in the Spanish style. Marie here is more along the lines of the Italian rapier style. And this does a great job of showing how different the two of them are. This does a good job of showing just how different the two of them are from each other, and how each of them works. So that's us on the left. Put ourselves out in the long open. Further open guard. You see how like very often, see a lot of it's like footsies, right? Ooh, she gotta cut it in on us. Oh no, our leg's out. So I made the comparison to Bushido blade. You can already see. Ooh. But notice how our leg got cut there early on in the fight, and that slowed us down so dramatically and let her come in for the single strike that ended it. That's kind of what I mean. That right there is kind of what I mean. Ooh, she got a touch in. Not significant though. Ooh, hold the long guard. But you can see, neither of us is actually hitting each other yet, right? And that's a key part of what's going on here. Ooh, got one in on her. Ah, shit! And again, right there, single strike ends the fight. And that is like the key thing. Is, again, like I said, this what I mean, it's sort of introduces an element of chaos versus more typical fighting games. Ooh! And immediately go for the finish. That's what I'm gonna say. Like, it introduces an element of chaos that you don't really see in more typical fighting games, entirely because of how a single fight can dramatically alter a situation into a final area like that. I don't even, like I said, that was like one of those situations where even if you line out a move up perfectly and you're dominating a fight up until a blow is struck, there could be that moment where you could have that moment where, oof, like that, right? Ooh, took a hit, but managed to win it. But like that right there is one of those moments that I'm talking about where I'm able to go in with the sword. I'm able to go in with the sword, and it's that one hit that ends the whole fight. That is the thing about this game that makes it kind of distinct from other fighting games and compared, and like I said, comparable to wow, that was weird. I just completely blanked out. Oh yeah, that makes it a lot like Bushido Blade, where first of all you have the hit zones, and each of the zones, if you get hit in a zone, you will, that could, for example, cripple your leg, or if you hit somebody in their sword arm and you hit them in their sword arm, they drop their sword. Fight's over. If you can do that, you win the fight. Those elements like that are just so distinct from really anything else out there. Well, let's see what we got here. Sword fight, but here's a great example of actually describing it here. Sword fighting works differently from unarmed combat. Rushing forward and pressing attacks quickly usually ends in a double hit. The key is patience, maintaining distance, blocking incoming attacks, and countering quickly. Good luck. But even with that, even with what's said here, where you are controlling the fight. If you slip, if you slip or if you miscalculate, that fight can instantly turn around against you. And that can very often happen when you have somebody who would be mashing, for example. If you're playing against somebody who is mashing. Mashing is a lot more productive in a game like this versus a more typical fighting game where, sure, again, like I said, you will probably get a double hit where neither of you wins the fight. But the fact that it's even possible to get that hit in, which is so decisive to the fight, I think that does a lot when you have a big skill gap between players, because it shows a new player that if they can get control of that if they can start getting control of that impulse, it won't just be a case of, oh, now I can just, now I can lose slower. It might be a case you'll start more rapidly seeing, oh, I can win. And that does something psychologically, I think. I might be completely talking out my ass, but I hope not. First of all, I hope not. But second of all, I hope somebody at least understands the idea of what I'm saying, even if it's kind of messy and kind of weird, and I'm not phrasing it very well. Whew, but what have we got here? Because I have not yet touched the story here. Okay, so it's giving a tutorial here on the controls. All right, walking around the arena. What are our various attacks now? Is that what it's going to do next? Let's see what it does next, actually. We've got dodges. Okay. Ah. Interesting to describe this as your most important. All right. Special attacks. Okay. I also know that there's some other stuff right there where like you can do like diagonals. I'm not quite figured that out if it's a diagonal or a quarter circle. It's something I'm still needing to experiment with. As you see here, everything is blocked. Blocking is just one of the things that happens in this game. And again, I do feel like while this is different from a lot of other games, the fact that blocking works this way really feeds into the whole idea of how decisive fights can be. And I at least personally anyways, I really enjoy it. Oh. Oh, I did not know that was a thing. I did not know that was a thing until right now. Oh, that's actually really nice. Yeah. Stay in the green zone. Da 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 da. All right. Anything else then? Because like I said, when he doesn't attack, he'll block your strikes. Just bashing at his weapon is not an effective attack. Okay. I kind of already knew that. You have to get around his guard. Okay. Oh, yeah. That is actually a really good moment right there. Just knocking his hat off. What if an opponent does this to you if your attack gets blocked? Ooh. Ooh. Oh, I have to hold it. Interesting. Okay. Again, canceling back into block. Not something I actually realized. That is not a mechanic I actually realized until right now. The feint. Okay, well, because I didn't even know about the canceling attacks. After blocking, you can respond. Oh. Oh. Okay. This is actually really useful, though. This is actually really useful to know about. But also, like I said, so something else about this game, though. The times that I haven't played, yeah, hey there, Pecan, how you doing? How you know? Slices fucking Pete off. I noticed that you also got this game. Pecan. Yeah, there's a story mode now. There is, in fact, a story mode now. The wooden sword. Okay, I don't know how much you've played this, but when you did play, who was the first character you played? Who was the first character you played when you first tried this game? I want to know that now. Oh, that was weird. The drunk, yeah, no. So for me, I was saying before, for me, it was the Spanish woman with the rapier. I don't know if you've seen her. She has like the big black dress. But so for me, it was her. Like, you know, she has the big black dress. She has the big black dress and the rapier. Also, something you realize very quickly about rapiers, though, is just how. So I was saying before about how single hits in this game are super decisive, right? But going with that in particular, single hits like any weapon can be super decisive. Rapiers really emphasize that. Rapiers really emphasize that. And also, because there's like a really interesting. I don't know where it's from, but I always remember this this quote about saber fencers versus rapier fencers and how you can tell the difference. A saber fencer is a grizzled old man covered in scars. Meanwhile, a rapier fencer is a young man with not a blemish, without even a single blemish on him. And it's a reference to how a saber fight, fights with sabers, unless you got hit really badly, a lot of the time you would get these like slicing blows on you that you could were survivable. You know, they might cripple you, for example. They might cripple you, meaning that you have to stop fighting, you have to stop sword fighting, but you might survive. On the other hand, with a rapier, it punches right through your torso and hits something vital. And even if you walk away from the fight, you are just so likely to die of internal bleeding, infections, etc. afterwards that the first time you take a hit, your fate has already been sealed. Anvil. Ah, whetstone. I was wondering what that was. Ah, door. What's in here? Do 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 dum do do do. Walking around, making my way. Every time I like the way he's just walking, I was just thinking, making my way downtown, walking fast. Ooh.
Musi, panie Dydyński, dziś spryt zastąpi ci szable. Mój stryj Mikołaj umiera. Na szczęście zostawił testament korzystny dla mnie.
Will its favorite. Yeah, I was gonna say. So, what do you want me? What do you need me to do?
Świeć, panie, burzliwy i zmienny.
I'll call you when they have a quint. Actually, so the name for that, the developer actually talks about this in one of his like various devlogs on this game. So the term Hellish Quart comes from a story where during some, I don't remember what the exact thing was, but during something, there's like a German visiting what would eventually become Poland, and while he's there, there's like a demonstration, he ends up getting into like getting into some kind of dispute or whatever, or not even a dispute, it may have just been a demonstration, I forget the exact circumstances, but one of these guys swings up with a saber from below. Does a swing up from below with his saber, cuts the man's belt, going past, going from his waist, from like the side of his waist up to his opposite shoulder, and apparently that story gets taken back to either Germany or Austria. I forget which one it was, but while he's, and that becomes, the Polish Hellish Quart. I don't remember the details of the story exactly. Oh, this is clumsy. Oh yeah, the horse is not going that way. Okay. That bridge is down. I'm not even paying attention to that. We have to go a different route then. So I'm guessing he's going to be this way. Let's go, horse. Also, he has a really... In the devlogs, he also has a really interesting video about how swords in so many games don't feel like they don't feel. Oh shit, that's a musket. Oh, what's the shirt, Chumbussy? Were you playing? Were you playing Jackbox? When you made that shirt, or is this somehow? You made it another time. You made it another way. I use Canva. What is the shirt? What is the shirt?
Teraz masz nowy rozkaz.
Oh, we got our pistol out too. All right, here we go. Time to fight. Time to fight for real. Rip bot. Ooh, fuck. And 3 in a row. 3 in a row. God damn. They're really out. They're out in force tonight. Oh shit. You got aroused by Casey Jones's arm hit pair at the TM town tour, and all you got was this stupid shit. What the fuck? That is a weirdly specific shirt. That is a weirdly specific shirt. Can I just say that right now? That is a very weirdly specific shirt. Well, I've never seen that live show, so yeah. I honestly, you say that, Shabussy. You say that, but even if I did watch it, I probably still wouldn't get it. Ooh, double hit. Because at the end of the day, I gotta say, oh yeah, what's this one? Ah, shit. In the sword arm. What's the idea you have? Ah, shit. I'm trying to do the fainting thing now. Ooh, that's one. He's still going though. Come on. Let's get the next. Let's try to do it again. Oh, good hit. Off with your sword arm, sir. Off with your sword arm.
A więc nie tylko ja tu pilnuję tego całego umierającego stryja.
I like his hat. I really like. I do really enjoy the hat with the feathers up at the front and the, you know, underneath the brooch. I don't even know what that is actually. I know I've seen this style of hat before, but I always forget what the specific name for it is. Nearing Sedliska. What if we're going to see another unpleasant ambush or what? All right, let's head into town and see what we have here. I don't think it's 18th century, but otherwise, yes, we are in the Polish countryside getting into fights. I think it's actually the 17th century, but otherwise, yeah, no, technically correct, partner. But yes, we are roaming the Polish countryside. We're not just like randomly getting into fights though. But the reason we're doing something in the Polish countryside because somebody's uncle recently died and there's like a fight over that uncle's will. I missed what the actual details of it were though. I missed what the specific details of it were though. But we're helping somebody with his uncle's will. That is the extent of what I remember. It's like we are helping Tarnowski with his uncle's will. Also, I think a lot of the reason why this game takes place in Poland. Yeah, that's a long-running joke there, Chabussy. That is a good one. That's a good one, but yeah, that is a long-running joke. But yeah, no, much like the game yesterday, Fumes, this was also... Some duels in Hellish Quart can be very challenging, especially if you encounter several opponents at once. If you find bandages somewhere, take them with you. Each bandage gives you an Oh! Interesting. That looks like it might be some kind of sword dummy. Yep, I was right. It is a sword dummy. Not a sword dummy, but yeah. Fuck. Oh, I see the game here now. I see the game here now. Almost had it. Starting to understand it better now. Almost. We got one though, so interesting. They mentioned bandages though, so let's see if we see any of those. Let's see if we find any of those real quick. But yeah, no, both this game and the one yesterday, Fumes, they are both both of them have Polish developers. For whatever that's worth. And they're both actually, but yeah, both of them super interesting games as well. Both super interesting games. Because it's really interesting to see something that plays basically like Twisted Metal or Vigilante 8, that sort of vibe. And then you have this where it's
Otwierać!
doing more with swords than pretty much any other game right now, at least that's been out for a while,
Jestem Jacek
does. It's like the closest I can think of to a game like this that came before it was something called Blade Symphony. And even then, that didn't really do much about like how a sword behaved on impact, but rather just having, paying at least some degree of attention to how swords are, used in terms of things like feints and, parries and the like. Was just, that inherently was interesting to see. Nothing over here, nothing over here. Anything of interest there? No. That door's not going to... Oh, more bandages. Very good. I will take those. Let's see. Would you go back out this way now? And then from there, through this way. That? No, it's not another bandage. Is that another bandage? That would have been really nice. Where is he? Where is the old man who is dying? Where is the dying old man? Dumph.
Czego tam, duszo zbłąkana?
Oh shit, I know who that is. I know who that is.
Jadydyński do pana Tarnawskiego. Otwierajże, ojcze Farureju.
Pan
Father
Tarnawski jedna się
Farurej.
z Bogiem. Jestem tu, by zapewnić mu spokój.
He said that minister's last right, bro.
Otwieraj, psi synu, bo
You
na
probably
naszczenia moją
sound-
szablą nie wytrzymasz. Słyszysz, stary kwie?
I really hope that they
Otwieraj!
come back and redo these voice lines with the monk sounding drunker, considering that that's actually how he plays.
Twoje plugawe słowa spływają po mnie jak woda niebieska. Tylko duchowny przekroczy ten
Seriously,
próg,
like
a na ciebie
the way he
spadnie
actually plays, where he's like
klątwa
stumbling
za
drunk.
ubliżanie
I do think it would
zakonnikom.
be kind of interesting if they actually went back and redid the voice for him, but Mate actually had like, the slurring of a drunk man to go with it. Because, seeing him with the bottle there, it's very obvious. It is very obvious to me that that monk is not sober right now. He may not be extremely inebriated, but he is definitely not sober.
Powiedział, że wpuści tylko duchownego. Jest tu jakiś inny ksiądz w okolicy? Mnich?
Jest mały klasztor niedaleko.
Unless
Drogą koło stajni mniej
that's a
niż pół
different
godziny.
Księdza
monk.
trzeba? Ojciec Błażej właśnie był przecie we wsi, podatki. Pewno jeszcze go
Unless-
złapiecie, panie, na drodze.
There's a different monk that I need to keep an eye out for. Father Blache, they mentioned. Catch up with him on the road, bring him to the manor. I'm wondering. Yeah, that is going to be this way. The cart's not blocking anymore, so let's get moving and see if we can catch up to him. I'm wondering if... I'm trying to remember, because I don't remember actually what the name of the drunk monk is. That might actually be who Blache is. But I am also kind of like going off the subject because you saw that monk in there with the bottle. it's one of those two is gonna be the drunk monk, and it's gonna be interesting to see. Oh no, there he is! I recognize him. I recognize him. Hey, motherfuckers!
Powiedział padło popa jak skopa. Matka boska talarów mniejszej skrzyni nie potrzebuje.
Ratuj prawy rycerzu, dobry człowiek.
You can just see the monk. The monk is just trying not to laugh his ass off the whole time. That man is drunk. But also, I recognize this guy right here that we're about to fight. I know who this is already. Not him, but the one that was in the white shirt. I recognize him. Ooh! Perfect. Dzień dobry, Barabash. Fuck. Come on, we got this. We got this. Ooh, and it's. Ooh, shit, 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 shit. Come on. Ooh, yeah, smacked you with the offhand and followed with a Glasgow smile, yeah. Ah, you still want to keep going? Okay. Oh, he's fun to play as well. Because I actually have played him. He is a playable character. Ooh, the double! Shit! God damn it! Yeah, the priest will have to walk home now, yeah, unfortunately. Ooh, got him in his offhand. Oh, I got my leg. Shit. Ooh. Ah, damn. Damn, that was bad. Also, I should have a look here, because I have not played Jacek. I should actually have a look to see what all he can do. To the knee. Ooh, the double hit. Again, damn. Wait, I see though, if I can keep consistently getting the double hits, that is better than just outright losing. There's another character though in this that I played. Ah, fuck. Another character in this that I played though, his name is Sava. And so he's got the saber, right? But then in his other hand, he's also got a knife. And he is terrifying. He is terrifying to fight against. And it's entirely because of that offhand knife. If he gets you where he will like move, he moves your guard out of the way, he can come in almost immediately with that knife and just start stabbing the shit out of you. Like you can, like all of the London jokes apply to this man. All of the London jokes apply to that man. That's how he... Fuck. Ooh, we got his offhand. Ah, shit. Crippled our leg, and that was just not gonna work. Ooh, good hit there. The side dodge worked out really well for us there. All right, it's time for Barabash again. That was pure luck. Like, frankly, that was pure luck right there. Getting that hit in right there, pure luck. Ooh. Ooh. You sure you want to keep going? Are you sure you want to keep going? I'm getting more of a feel for the fainting now. I'm getting more of a feel for the fainting now. Like, I'm not doing it well, mind you. Ooh. Oh, the double hit. Damn. Oh, we got our leg. Shit. Oh. Crippling our leg. That was... Every time our leg gets crippled, that's basically... That loses us the fight. Ugh, I gotta be better about that. Oh, that is specifically a Sava thing. Okay. Ah, and the sword arm. Come on. Oop. Shit. This is going to be a thing, by the way, that I'm going to get my ass kicked a lot. So much of it just because, like you saw there, it just takes one. It just takes one. Oh. God damn. Ooh, got him that time though. What do you mean by wait? What's the Hetman, Irving? What's the Hetman? What's the Hetman? Ooh! It's like a king. Okay, kinda. Oh! Oh! Got too close there. Sword arm. Oh, in the sword arm. Beautiful. Was there a reason? Like, have you played this, Irving? I'm just wondering. Like, are... Oop. Lucky. Very lucky there. Here we go again. Oh, we gotta do that 3 more times. But it's got some history you're interested in off and on. And the wrist! Woo! That's my line. That's my line, Barabash. What are you talking about? That's my line. Okay, good. He didn't get our leg. Oh, got one in his sword arm. Shit. Got us in the wrist while I was trying to trying to transition to the other cut. Damn. In the sword arm again. Oh, I didn't even notice the way his mustache was going there. Is that just like I think that's probably just like a physics glitch or whatever. What is it, Chumbussy? What is the sword? What shirt did you do for this? Oh, finally got the win overall. Whew.
Daruj mu, bracie, dostał za swoje. Uciekaj do matki!
Considering some of the places we've hit him, I'm surprised he survived that at all. Me fighting my situationship for money.
Zwłaszcza, że nie my mu życie daliśmy. Cóż cię jednak trapi?
Farurej.
Farure?
Mnich, który zagradza drogę.
Oh, that was his name. It's Farure, the other monk.
Zostałem wysłany, by być
Okay, so yeah, no.
Farurej! Benedykty, żaden on mnich!
Oh?
Człowiek przeklęty, nie
He's
boi się ani Boga,
a
ani
cursed man who fears neither God nor the devil.
Jest gdzie? U pana
With-
Tarnawskiego?
Yeah,
W siedliskach.
Yes, he is.
Spróbuję ci pomóc, zabierz mnie.
Yeah, Farure and Blashe. Let's see, I'm trying to remember which one of them, like you were saying before, Pecan, is the monk with the big ass sword.
Farurej! Stary capie! Otwieraj drzwi i wychodź!
Oh no, now the bottle's open. Oh no, now the bottle's open. Now he's definitely gonna be drunk.
Chciałbyś do łoża, bracie?
What is that face?
konfraterki coś z fortuny tarnowskich, zanim stary pan wyciągnie ducha? Chciałbym podzielić się z tobą garncem okowity.
That is a face to be making on that.
Opróżnie.
I am just waiting for Blashe here. As soon as Farure opens the door to just conk him over the head with that jug. Like I am just fully expecting that's how this is gonna go.
Czekaj.
She's gonna get conked over the head with that jug.
Mogę wyjść.
Hello.
O, podstęp!
Oh no, he's got the broom. Oh, I see how this is gonna go now. Ah, shit. Woo. Oh. Come on. In the face. Ugh, I got something in my eye. Did he break the broom? Oh, across the face. Damn. Come on, we can do. We can get this. Ooh, come on, come on. Ooh. Oh, we're getting kind of winded. We're getting kind of winded. Hey, Sogo! How you doing? We finally won that one, though, but also, ad break is about to be starting soon. So, if you need a chance to stretch, grab a drink, anything of that sort, this is going to be the time to do it. And I've been doing all right. Got up super late today, though. Ugh, it was terrible. That's why we started so late tonight. Because I had a bunch of stuff I needed to take care of beforehand. So, went and did that.
Przecież on szermierz niezrównany. Chodź, chodź, napijemy się okowitki. Poczujesz się? To opowiadajże, Faroreju. To teraz...
Panie Mikołaju.
Ciebie wołają. Oj, kości bolą. No, to pańskie zdrowie. Dobre. Bardzo dobre.
Marynko moja. Czekaj. Słyszałem twój głos. Idę do ciebie. Wcale nie jestem chory. Hej, tam łapać go! Stryja do wora! Wór do jeziora!
Stać! Najpierw z gardła testament wyrwę. Brać go!
Krzesła, panie!
And we're back. I hate when you can't pause cutscenes like that. It's like, ugh, I hate when you can't pause cutscenes like that. So I had to like leave it on. I couldn't like switch over so like, y'all didn't have to, so y'all could, well, and wouldn't, wait for the ad break to run. Ugh, but, yeah, it does. It really does. It does, Sogo. But also, Ah, shit. Yeah, you see, now we're back to dealing with actual swords. So this is gonna make things interesting. Double shit. But yeah, no, also Sogo, of course, I don't know what you mean by brotherhood there. I don't know what you mean by brotherhood there. I don't know like, what you mean by no brotherhood there, because these guys are so... These guys are thieves, obviously working to try and go against. And Chumbusi, if you keep trying to desperately ship every single time you see two men in very close proximity to other, if you keep trying to ship them, I'm going to put you into the... I don't even know what I'm going to do, but fine, we'll figure that one out together.
Nie
We'll figure that one out together. It's going to be
Dobrze mi
very
zapłacono, żebym
interesting.
nie wpuszczał.
Wcale nie chcę wejść do stryja. Pewnie nie uwierzysz, że ja tak naprawdę przyjechałem tutaj dla ciebie.
Po moją głowę?
Spotkać się z tobą i poznać
To
najlepszą
meet you and
szablę
know
na
the
Rusi
finest
Zielonej.
swordsman in Red
Puścisz
Ruthenia.
mnie?
So who are
Będzie nam
you?
miło.
Who are you then?
Wolę panny niebojowe. Takie, co to wyszywają
Want
i
to
tkają
embroider and
zamiast
weave rather than
nosić
wield a
szable.
sword?
Nawet nie wiesz, co z tobą zrobię!
Yes, she
Szelmo
does.
plugawcze!
She absolutely does, Sogo.
Lepiej by było mieć infamię na sobie, niż narazić się na mój gniew!
It's like, honestly, at this rate, oh, they're breaking in from the back. Let's go. Oh, is that? Yes, it is. I will be taking those. And let's get moving. Nice try. Nice try, kurwa. Yeah, no, I think it's probably one of the more recent additions is why, Sogo. Immediately. Who are they gonna have us fight after? Oh, Lashlo's back. Hello. In the face again. Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. Oh, if you're talking about like if you're talking about like, you know, voice actresses, you should also go see what Goku's voice actress looked like. Oh, we got more trouble now. Wait, oh. Wait, is that Tarnovsky? Is that Tarnovsky? Come to raid in the bandits, I see. Took you long enough to get here. No. I mean the Japanese one, Chumbusi. I mean the Japanese one. She's no longer with us, but that was an intense looking woman. I'll just put it that way.
Udawałem chorobę, aby sprawdzić, kto mnie naprawdę miłuje. I ty, Aleksandrze. I ty, Maryno.
Oh.
Jesteście diabła warci. Testament.
I tear the will to shreds.
Pluję na jego.
That is like an impossible conversation to have is the thing. Like, it is impossible to have any sort of even remotely rational conversation about anything
moja misja
that
właśnie się
even
skończyła.
vaguely
Płać,
looks
panie Aleksandrze.
like the
Nie
word AI, because you're going to be sandwiched between the people who are obsessed with trying to invent God, and then the people who are literally 3 drinks away from calling for a world run by eugenics and guild
Możesz
monopolies.
jeszcze zmienić strony. Nie jest za późno.
And it's so annoying.
Wydaj mi stryja,
Just like even
oj, mi
trying to,
zapłać.
like even
Pozbądź się
that is just one of those things where literally any mention of that is just Cobalt 60, drop and run.
Żona była we mnie. I zapamiętaj, krewni tylko w ziemi pewni.
Only certain when 6 feet under.
Ach, sama to
Ah, shit. We're not done yet. Okay. And yeah, no. I am very familiar with but yeah, no, the thing with Goku's voice actor, yeah, I'm familiar with how every time there's like a voice actor who sounds even a little bit like him, he's so quick to assume that it's AI. I'm very familiar with that as well. Oh, we got her leg. Come on, Marina. Woo. Come on, Marina. You really think killing your uncle is going to help you with the will? You really think killing your uncle is going to help you with the will? Especially when there's witnesses? Ugh. Lost on the last one. Ooh, good hit there. Not vital, but... Just keep killing. Yeah, no, there's no other... Yeah, just keep killing. I mean, sure, but I mean, how many of her men are there? It was her, Barabash, and Laszlo, and I forget who the other guy was. Barabash, Laszlo and the other guy are not in the picture anymore. Okay, let's see what your role is, shall we, Chumbusi? Give me a minute to get in. Give me a minute. We'll see what your role looks like. What is your luck looking like today? A 1. Oh, a 1. Remember the duality of 1 and 6. Whether you seek high or low, you have landed on the ends of fate at its knife edge. And all depends on how you see that edge. Remember, a 1 can be horrible, but it can also be auspicious. It all depends on how you land on that knife edge of fate. Yep. Gonna go get a Gardevoir Pokemon. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that, Chumbussy? Yeah, no, she has a shield. She has a shield. And that just makes her incredibly oppressive. There's another character in this game I think got added pretty recently. There's actually, so there's two sword and board fighters in this game. She's one, the other's this Scottish guy, and both of them are they let you just put on incredibly oppressive pressure because they have that board in their offhand. You know, it's funny. The women in this game, all of the women in this game have sort of unusual fighting styles. Oh, it's funny you mentioned that because I was actually going to bring up something about claymores. A lot of what we call claymores are not two-handed swords. They're not two-handed swords. They are very often one-handed basket hilt swords. Oh, the double! And that's actually what he had. He has a one-handed basket hilted sword. He's got a one-handed basket hilted sword, and then there's like a specific type of shield that he has. I'm trying to remember what the name of it is. It's a very specific Scottish shield. I need to go actually look to see what the name of this is. A lot of, okay, he has a targa, which is it's a type of shield that was really prevalent in the Scottish Highlands. But yeah, no, claymores actually often are used to describe two different types of swords. There's the two-handed sword, which is one of them is the two-handed sword that you're thinking of, which comes from the Scotch word, I'm not even gonna try and pronounce it, which literally just means great sword. But then there's also basket hilted swords that came around as well, that were also somewhat prominent in Scotland. I don't know when the dates for those are, so I defer to people who actually do. But both of those swords have, although I think the reference of claymores of that basket hilted sword as a claymore is a more recent thing. Again, I don't know the date, so I will defer to people who know better than I do. But I do know that both of those swords have been referred to as claymores at one time or another. But yeah, no, he is using a basket hilted sword and a targa. Ooh, got her in close. I love that. Ah! Right there. That is that. I love that little thing. I love that little detail. Oh. Ooh. I mean, if you look at Gaelic, yeah. Well, I mean, this game was also, much like The Witcher, this game was also made in Poland, so yeah. Much like The Witcher, this game was also made in Poland. Oh, hey, Lashma's not dead, okay. Oh, the monk is here! Something else interesting as well from this time period. The time period this game takes place in. Long swords like that. Oh, brutal. The dragging. Yeah, that is very much not good, Sogo. That is very much not good. Yeah, Jacek is lucky to survive that one. Ooh. But also, what I was going to say is, neither Mr. Tarnowski nor Miss Luchika managed to force their uncle to rewrite his will. The monks barricaded themselves with the old man in the manor, and no one could get them out. Furious, Tarnowski returned to Przemysl empty-handed, but the she-wolf claimed a consolation prize. She captured none other than Jacek Dudinsky himself. What will happen to Mr. Jacek next? Find out in the next adventures. We're working on them, and the game updates are coming soon. Yep, definitely not going to be able to fight after that. But yeah, let's see. Father Zera, Sava, Kalkstein, Samuel, and Jakub. Those are going to be interesting to see when they show up. But also, let's see what else we've got. Yeah, it's very much not done yet. This game is very much not done yet. Oh, let's see then. Who are we going to go with? Oh! Oh, it actually does. It actually does mention these. A Scottish mercenary. His style lacks fluid combinations and favors technical strikes from behind the cover of his shield. Due to his large build, he's easier to target, relying on slower, more deliberate footwork to maintain control of the distance. Oh, but let's see here. Sava follows Samuel. Who's Samuel? That's Jendrik. That's Samuel. Once a proud Hussar companion, Samuel is now turned rogue, fighting as a mercenary and bandit for hire. He wields a heavy Hussar saber, equipped with a distinctive thumb ring, an innovation that protects the finger. Not yet played. Okay. The style of helmet here has me wondering, because Marta is already, we already have like one Spanish character with Marta. I'm wondering if this is going to end up being another Spaniard. The helmet isn't a distinct, uniquely Spanish design, but it's one that you often see associated with them. So I am wondering if that's going to end up being, we're getting another Spaniard. Yeah. Rapiers are fun, by the way, Sogo. Rapiers are fun as hell. Kalkstein forged his own Schiavona, a heavy basket-hilted sword with robust hand protection. Having learned to fight from fencing manuals rather than the battlefield, his style is precise and overly academic. Every move he makes look like a page from a book. Elegant, but not always practical. And then she is very interesting. So, like I said, the time period this game takes place in, longswords have generally fallen out of favor and are considered by and large outdated, because this is the early modern period, like the 17th century specifically. And so, yeah, no, the longsword is a very, very interesting thing here to see. And again, same here with Father Zera, with the same sort of weapon. Also, I love that his fighting style is described. 12% Lichtenauer. I don't think it's as isolated, because I don't think it's his isolated life as a hermit that makes his fighting style unpredictable. I'm pretty sure it's the liquor. It's the name of a beer, more likely than not. An aged Polish nobleman, Gideon fights using the traditional cross-cutting style based on fast, intersecting cut patterns. Despite his age, he remains quick on his feet. Typical nobleman with a military background, Jan fights with a versatile saber and a well-balanced style. So I'm actually kind of going through here and now seeing how each of these weapons is described. The Chupaga that Jendrik has. Yeah, some very interesting characters indeed. The Schiavona with Kalkstein, Isabella and her longsword, Gideon. Most of them are fighting with sabers, which fits both the time period and the location. Because, like I said, 16th century Poland. Most of the time when you see swords at this point, they're going to be some variety of saber or either some variety of saber or side sword. Yeah, Barabash, brigand to the service of Marina, the she-wolf. He fights with Cossack flair and unpredictability. Then you have Marie, one of the two rapier characters, a spy in the service of France, highly trained in the use of the rapier. She favors the Italian Fabri style, known for its low stance, deep lunges, and exceptional reach. She is very aggressive, by the way. Marie, her and Marta are built so more unpredictable, better at cutting, especially since a lot of the time you're also going to be using it on horseback. And, you know, sabers were very much the blade of choice for cavalrymen. And, you know, a lot, there was a very, very strong emphasis on cavalry in early modern, in most of early modern Europe, but early modern, like Central and Eastern Europe in particular. Huge emphasis on cavalry. Ooh, I was wondering. I've been wondering what this guy's deal is. Because I've seen him in the cast, but I've never actually played as him. Didis arrived in Red Ruthenia with the Turkish army and has remained ever since. His hypnotic footwork allows him to shift attack angles with ease, but he fights by combining solid defense with smooth, uninterrupted strike sequences. And then, like I said, Marta and Marie are the characters I have played the most of. Just because Marta was the one who got me into the game in the first place. I saw her and I was just like, oh, that is cool. That is really cool to see. Then Father Zera, the drunk priest. This guy is terrifying, by the way. This guy, absolutely terrifying. Because his that knife in his left hand, if he gets around the guard, he will just come in immediately, bah, 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 just stab the shit out of you. Yeah, he definitely does. Also, if you win a fight without taking any hits with Sava, I love his win animation. Him and Marta both have really good, perfect win animations. Marta snaps her fingers like super dramatically, and then Sava, he'll take that knife and he'll shake it at like, don't make me teach you this lesson again. It reminds me of that one video. Have you ever seen, like, this guy in Finland has a bear come up to his porch. He grabs a broom and he just starts yelling at the bear. The way he shakes the knife when you win fights reminds me of that. Though he used a saber for most of his life, Tarnowski switched to a short, sturdy Dusak after discovering the fencing manuals of Master Meyer. Ideal for indoor brawls, Commonland's line of shady dealings, the Dusak suits his close-quarters style. He prefers evasive movement over static blocks, slipping past attacks to strike back with precision. When the courts are useless and the law looks the other way, people turn to Jacek. He fights with a light dueling saber, using a style built for speed and precision, using tight wrist cuts, rapid riposts, and no wasted motion. Designed for real duels on foot, his technique is all about ending fights quickly and cleanly. Oh, we have an actual Ottoman soldier! That's cool! That is a really cool thing. He overwhelms the opponent with cut combinations from both sides. He can break through a guard by pressing his weapon with both hands, forcing an opening. Confident footwork, shaped by years on the battlefield, let him control the distance at all times. Marina fights with a short, heavy saber and light Kalkan shield, using a style inspired by medieval buckler fencing. You saw just how oppressive she was when we were fighting her. Like, I'm saying, like, the shields, both of the characters with shields, Marina and Connor here, are incredibly oppressive. Because they can be incredibly oppressive because they have a shield. It's honestly kind of crazy, but let's see. You know, let's go and have a run here with Sava. Sava was a prisoner on a Turkish galley until Samuel Zborowski broke his chains. They escaped together and their paths never parted. Now, Sava follows Samuel out of gratitude or out of necessity. He watches as his master spreads fear and seeks revenge on Shenensky. Sava contra Alexander. Ooh! Oh! But yeah, the headpieces are interesting. Also, the way that Sava has his hair done, that is actually one of the more interesting historical, like that's like actually a very interesting historical detail there. That was actually a thing that was very common among Cossacks in particular, and it's a top knot it's a style of top knot that's somewhat prevalent among Cossacks and other. Ooh, going in with a knife. Woo. It's actually somewhat prevalent among Cossacks and other Eastern European. Oh, you meant the Turkish? Yeah, I was wondering. I was wondering who you were referring to there. Because I was wondering what the deal with that was, because yeah, a lot of the characters do have like somewhat notable things what's going on with their heads. Yeah, holy shit. You mentioned that he has like the crazy eyes. That shot of him right there in particular, he really had them. Ooh. But also the reason I am like particularly familiar with that style of top knot is because, like I said, that style of top knot is still somewhat a thing you see in like not so much Poland, but Ukraine, and it's also often used by Russians as a slur against Ukrainians. Like the name of that top knot is often referred to as a ho-ho, and that is sometimes like it's sometimes used as a slur by Russians against Ukrainians. Seriously, he looks like a mugshot. Like he just looks like a mugshot. This is gonna be the nasty one, I can tell from here. Yep, again, shields, incredibly oppressive. Oh, this is not looking good for us now. Yeah, the man is a tank indeed. So much of it is because he has that great kilt. Like on top of the fact that he has the target, he also has a great kilt on, and that extra padding against a cutting weapon like unlike a saber is going to be really, really useful. Yeah, like I said, it's funny you actually mentioned that, because you also saw that with, like, historically you'd see that with Roman gladiators as well. A lot of them would have builds with like extra, you know, they would have builds where they were like meaty fellas, like, you know, they were muscular, like incredibly muscular underneath, but they were meaty fellas in general, and a lot of that was for the exact reason you were just saying, that helped them survive against, you know, cutting attacks. And yeah, absolute bear of a man. Speaking of bears, though, the way we have to fight this guy, and also because both of them being an absolute bear man, but also the shield, we could call this bear baiting. But look at how he shakes the knife. Like, see how he like shakes the knife there? That's what I'm talking about. It's like that little thing right there. I think it's just hilarious. There's something inherently funny about that. There is something inherently funny about that. It is also, yeah, no, he is definitely a scary guy. Like, Sava is, the dev himself has said, like, out of everyone in the game, the one he is most afraid of is Sava. Like, the one he would want to meet, like, the least. Sava is the guy he'd want to meet the least. Ooh, yeah, do not even interact with the man. Yeah, it's like, do not approach this man. If this man were a dog, he would be like one of those little miniature pinchers that he'd be like a chihuahua or one of those little miniature pinchers that just crash the fuck out whenever you get too close to them. Oh, hey there, Laszlo. Ooh, the double hit. I honestly do sometimes wonder. I do sometimes wonder if the developer of this game is also a fan of Berserk, because there are a lot of these grim places. There's actually quite a few of these places that have that sort of, that have that vibe that really, that would fit with something like Berserk. Especially considering, you know, Berserk does take place in early modern Europe. Ooh, the double again. Ah, if I'd been a bit quicker on that, I could have gone for the stab. Woof. Also, I'd say, I do very much like the vibe of, I do like the look of just, of that like early modern setting. It's the little things that when you really see something that is openly early modern, I think is the easiest way I can describe it, where, because a lot of stuff that actually, there's a lot of stuff that is like claiming to be medieval, particularly in fantasy, but if you really look at it, it's kind of a mishmash of mostly early modern, of like mostly early modern, of a mostly early modern setting, but stuff that's like more openly early modern, I'm actually really fond of. Ugh. Ooh, in the sword arm! Ugh. Honestly, I'm wondering. I am also wondering, like, I am just waiting for a character like, you know, somebody like Laszlo, for example. That one's not so bad. I am wondering if we ever are going to see, even if it's like a joke character, I think it'd be really interesting if we do see somebody that really, also, again, speaking of leaning into things, we see somebody who leans into the whole, you know, unpronounceable Polish names. You know, like an actual, like an actual Grzegorz Brzęczyszkiewicz. That would actually be kind of fitting. Although kind of hard to do. That would be kind of hard to do. In no small part because this time period, like the time period this takes place in, is it's after the Battle of Sekigahara. So Sakoku would have been a thing for a while at this point. Actually, it's funny you mentioned that because there is a famous story of a European swordsman actually getting into a fight with a samurai, and the result is exactly what you expect, but not in the way you think. So it's a great illustration of what is sometimes referred to as the outside context problem. So, because what ended up happening, the samurai went for an overhead strike at the same time as his European counterpart went for a thrust. The result being the samurai sword went right through the I think it was Portuguese, went through the Portuguese swordsman's head, killing him immediately. But because the samurai didn't anticipate the thrust, at the same time, punched right through one of his lungs, and he died a few days later from his injuries. And pretty much like in most cases where we see a European swordsman fighting a samurai, that's kind of the outcome you see almost every single time. Is one of them wins the fight immediately, and then the other one will often die of their injuries because they both go from attacks that neither of them expects to see. Oh, the double hit. Yeah, neither knows what the other's going for, so they're wide open. Another great example of the outside context problem. Have you ever heard the story about when the Chinese tried to lay siege to a Russian fortress? Because that's actually a great example. That's another great example of the outside context problem. So it was a border dispute between Russia and China, and I think in like the late 18th century. I want to say it was the late 18th century. I don't remember exactly when. I'd have to look again. But the siege was after the European development of the Star Fortress. The Star Fortress being a fairly prevalent style of fortification where you had the main core of the fortress, then you had a layer of fortifications around that, and then a layer of fortified gun positions around that, and then another layer around that of infantry positions. the Chinese had never encountered this style of fortress before, and because of how Chinese cities were built, the Chinese had never had any incentive to develop heavy siege guns. They had never had any incentive to develop heavy siege guns, and they'd never encountered this style of fortress before, so they had no idea what to do with it. To the credit of the Chinese general, they didn't do it. They were not stupid. They, like I said, they had never encountered this before, so they kept trying new things. Remember, because even in Europe, it took decades before anyone had even a remotely good idea of how to break one of these star fortresses. It took decades in Europe before anyone knew how to do this, and the Chinese had never encountered it before until this particular siege. What's the name of this fortress? What's the name of this fort? The Siege of Albazin. If you ever want to actually have a look at this, if you want to see a really good story about the outside context problem of how do people approach something they have never encountered before, the Siege of Albazin is an amazing example of the outside context problem. Because, like I said, the Chinese, in China, there was never any incentive to develop heavy siege guns or these types of layered fortresses, because Chinese cities were historically built with thick, heavy earthen walls that made that would basically defeat most guns of the time. Most guns of the time. Meanwhile, in Europe, they first had, they mostly originally built fortresses with single layer stone walls that guns had were early on great at defeating. And so siege guns had become a thing. The Star Fortress was a natural evolution towards, the same idea, but more layered. The same idea as Chinese cities, but more layered and more built as a dedicated fortress where you would have those heavy earthen walls. Two of the things that came out of that were first of all, the development of heavier siege guns to try and defeat these earthen walls, but also development of new doctrines, particularly the most famous example of this being the French engineer Vauban, that led to the building of, the development of trench systems to approach underneath the lower limit of the guns' firing arcs. Yeah, so the French engineer Vauban was one of the first people noted for being able to, for developing the doctrine to defeat a star fortress. And one of the things he figured out was you don't use the guns to break the walls necessarily. You would use the guns to break open the outer wall, break up the outer walls, the outer parts of the fortification where infantry would be waiting, would be basically on, waiting to attack anyone who tried to approach the fortress and got under the guns. So you would use your own guns to suppress those infantry, while your men dug trenches underneath the firing arcs of the fortress's guns. And then once they got in past those outer infantry positions, you would turn your guns up onto the fortress's guns so that they couldn't shoot at anybody who was coming to then reinforce those trenches. But this is something that took decades for Europeans to figure out, and they had plenty of chances to practice against this because the Star Fortress was prevalent in Europe. Meanwhile, it basically didn't exist in China. So you see this Chinese general during the Siege of Albazin basically speed running the process that, it took the process of decades of developing siegecraft that the Europeans went through against star fortresses, and he got really close, actually. He got really close to being able to effectively break the fortress. No, actually, he didn't. He came to an entirely different answer, which, while ultimately unsuccessful in breaking the fortress, did get really close by the time the Russians decided to abandon Albazin. And ultimately, you know, the conflict that the siege of Albazin was part of was ultimately one that was resolved, and you know, was resolved diplomatically. But by the time that diplomatic resolution had happened, he had gotten really close to breaking the siege. Like this what was the name of this general? Lang Tan. Yeah, the Chinese general's name is Lang Tan. He got really close to actually figuring out a uniquely Chinese solution to dealing with star fortresses. I don't know if it would have worked on every star fortress, but it would have. I mean, if the siege had continued, yeah, he would have absolutely been eventually able to figure out how to break Albazin. Ooh! Because what he did, so what Lang Tan did is, first off, he's established, he is a great example of how we often don't give late dynastic China enough credit militarily. Because so much of what ended up, because so many people do think about, you know, they think about things like the Opium Wars and how the British East India Company absolutely crushed Chinese coastal fortifications and the honestly kind of limited Chinese Navy, which is very much true, mind you. It's very much true, they did, but you have to consider the context and how so much of what the Chinese were dealing with, how much of why the British were so successful against the Chinese is, yeah, it was a bad matchup. China's primary military, because the primary military focus of China for centuries up to that point was invaders from the north and west. They weren't thinking, you know, they didn't have to think about attack from the sea. That was just not something that happened until the Europeans came along and decided that was the time to invade. But but what the siege of Albazin shows is the Chinese militarily were not incompetent. Like, you know, the late Qing dynasty China, they weren't incompetent militarily. Or at the very least, they had good officers. I don't know how the average Qing officer was, but they had good military leaders still. Because, like I said, Lang Tan you gave Lang Tan another 6 months, Albazin would have fallen eventually. Whether it was from starvation or the parallel Chinese fortress that he built on the other bank of the river, Albazin would have eventually fallen. It was just a matter of time. Yes, they had time to build their own fortress. Lang Tan had enough time during the siege of Albazin to build a fortress on the other bank of the river that was then used to routinely bombard the Russian fort, to routinely bombard Albazin. Honestly, do you know what I think Lang Tan would have figured out if the siege had gone on much longer? Specifically, what he would have started to figure out? Mortars. Honestly, I think that would have been the thing that Lang Tan would have figured out that would have eventually broken Albazin, is he would have figured out mortars. And that from that protected position across the border, across the river, that because he didn't have to account for the target's movement, he could just set mortars, figure out, get them ranged in, and just consistently bombard the fortress, and bombard the inside of the fortress. Especially considering that this was right around the time when the Qing were laying siege to Albazin, late 17th century. You start to see mortars being a thing. I think they're a little bit later. I think they're more like early to mid you first see examples of mortars, I think, a bit later on down, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we started seeing something like a proto mortar develop. Langtan using what would be like an early proto mortar. Let me check to see when was the first first documented usage of mortars. Oh yeah, no, they were a thing in the 1400s. They were even arguably a thing in the 1400s in Korea. So yeah, no. You would have probably gotten... So yeah, mortars were already around. Never mind. I was completely wrong with that. Mortars were already around. So I think, when was the... Especially, I don't remember when you first see the usage of explosive shells. I know obviously they were a thing in the 19th century. You start seeing them become more prevalent. But I don't know when they first started, when the very first explosive shells started showing up. But if explosive shells were even a thing at all at the time, so instead of just solid shot, you had hollow rounds filled with gunpowder, that would have just made it even worse. Or even something like Martin shot, which I think is more of a 19th century thing. As often you would see sometimes used in naval battles. So Martin shot was a thing you would see in the Age of Sail, where you would have a hollow cannonball. This hollow cannonball would then either be filled with molten, and the most developed ones, they would be filled with molten iron. Or even if it wasn't that, you would see them filled with burning pitch or other flammable things. If you fire one of those out of a mortar into a fortress town, that would be devastating. Samuel. See, somebody's burnt a whole town down.
Mówiłem, że zabiję was wszystkich. Wasze dzieci, żony, ojców i matki.
Okay, that is a particularly nasty problem. This is going to be really interesting to see. Because that man is wearing armor. I don't know if you noticed, that man is wearing armor. This is going to be interesting. See what I mean? This man is wearing armor. Ooh!
Nieźle.
In the shin.
Widać, że ktoś ci rękę układał.
Yeah, we're gonna have to go for those low blows for sure. We're definitely gonna have to go for those low blows. Ugh. Oh, we've crippled his leg. Ooh! Oh! That was brutal. Woo! You're hitting armor!
Widać.
Oh, the punish on that! Ooh, but also ad break is going to be starting soon, so if you need a chance to stretch, grab a drink, anything like that, now's going to be the time to do it, and I will see y'all when it's over. we are back. Man, this, like I was saying before, the shields were oppressive, but as you are seeing here, armor is even worse. Like, good lord. Our target options are so limited. Our target options are so limited because of how protected he is. Ooh. Oh. Oh no, we're down to 1 morale. This is gonna get interesting now. We basically cannot lose a single fight again. Oh, you got our legs. Shit. So we have to go for like his armpits and his shins. Oh, we're winded too. And predictable results. Oh, that is brutal. Oh. Ooh. We actually won that round. And we got some morale back too, so you know what? I'll take that. And yeah, no, it's so oppressive. But that's completely unsurprising if you think about it. Ooh, we're getting a bit winded. Ooh. Oh, damn. Yeah, very fitting. It reminds me, do you remember I forget which Mortal Kombat game it was, but there's a guy that you fight at the end, the Dragon King. I think it was Deception. You fight, Onaga at the end of it, and he's basically fucking invincible. I think it's kind of how Shao Kahn used to be as well. It's a very similar vibe to that. I want to see actually. He shows up now. Like that. Where is the actual Samuel that we... Ah, no, you don't get to see him with his armor. I was wondering if that was a thing you could run into or not. Let's see if Marta has anything interesting. Ooh, that one's kind of cool, actually. Marie doesn't have any. Wait, what? There was actual... What do you mean? Oh! Oh, I see what you mean by ranked. Yeah, fallen Samuel. A man denied his armor. Oh no, it's not multiplayer. It's not multiplayer. Like, okay, this is gonna be interesting. Actually, I should see is there really much? Is there really options for that now? There are ways to play this online, actually. It's only with friends right now, but still. problem is I would need to know somebody else who has the game. That's the only thing there, Sogo. Is I need to have somebody. I need to know somebody who has the game. Honestly, the same goes for Parsec as well. Let's see. Oh, what is this? History cards mode. What is this? Ah! Bonk! I don't know. I know there's a community out there. It's just, I don't think this is definitely not a game I'd want to just go up and immediately start playing with just like randoms against, because it would end up being, it would be kind of crushing. Or at least not on stream. Oh, the axe is disgusting. The axe is disgusting. I know part of it is just that, you know, the way that the whole thing there is like where the difficulty escalates as you go, but still. Da, da, da. This, but also Yendrick here is a great example of how Sharp Thing is nasty, but more very often Sharp Thing on a stick is even scarier. Sharp Thing on a stick is even scarier. Ooh, this is actually really cool to see. Die, die, die. Oh, we switched it up now. Now we're Jan. Against Marta. Oh! Yeah, I gotta be careful with Sharp Things. Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. A spear would be unbelievably oppressive. Honestly, the only thing I think that might be even more oppressive would be something like a... Ooh. Ooh. Honestly, the Spaniard, I don't know if he's a Spaniard or not, but the guy who's not yet available to play, that guy, I already can tell, entirely for one reason, he is going to be incredibly oppressive. Also going to be incredibly oppressive. Because he has a helmet, he is going to be a bastard to actually fight against. Because that basically locks you out of going for the head. And that's going to make him super oppressive. See right there, the shield coming in, like, you know, grabbing the blade like that and then going for the legs with the sword. That is just brutal. It's like, what do you do against, like, not even, it's not, actually, you know, there are things you can do against that, but it is, you've got to be so quick to respond to that. Because shields just give you so much leverage. They give you so much cover. It's like, imagine if there was if we get another rapier character that has a buckler, or even better, a parrying dagger. Could you imagine, Sogo, if we actually got if they actually added a character with a rapier that has a parrying dagger. Especially if it's one of the really nasty ones like we're getting a bit winded, so let's get get some distance for some cover. And there goes your sword arm. Ooh, instant. Regole di molti cavalieries. Cavalierici, eserciti. I'm guessing this is an example of how you would deal with multiple opponents. Is that what that's? I don't know what this actually says because I don't know Italian, but I'm wondering if that's what that is. It's like this is an example of a treatise on how you would engage multiple opponents. So, a lot of parrying daggers in particular will have hooks on them, on like either as part of the cross guard, or on the hill, or on the cross guard, or on the blade. They'll have a hook that you can use. Yeah, you see the hooks there. They have hooks that you can use to catch your opponent's sword and basically hold them pinned while you come in for an attack. And that plus the rapier would be such a bastard to fight against. Oof. Oh, he got my leg. But we got his sword arm. Giacomo de Grassi. Oh, remember the Turkish guy? I did not expect that to work. Yeah, you would grab your opponent's sword. You'd use that to control your opponent's sword. A Ducat, 1654. Also, the only thing would actually be a really cool element to have for a character's design, especially because you saw that we, you know, the Yachik had one in the story. I think it'd actually be really cool if there was a character who had it would have to be holstered because you wouldn't want to have them have it ready, but having something like Yachik's Yachik's pistol and a bandolier, and then they use that as they would use that for a finisher. That would be really cool. Just having a holstered pistol that gets used for a finisher would be a really nice touch. Yeah, only used for style points, absolutely. Because otherwise it would just break the game completely. considering when this is, like, considering when this game takes place, which is in like the 17th century, you saw he had a wheel lock pistol. I'm trying to think, were matchlocks still around at that point? Or not around, but still around. But were they still prevalent around that point? I'm trying to. I don't remember when matchlocks. I don't know when matchlocks fell out of favor in Europe. Because that would actually really lean into that, actually. If it was a matchlock. It was a matchlock. He has it holstered and the match isn't lit. So as part of the finisher, after he like cuts your legs out from under you, he pulls the pistol out, lights the match, and then shoots you with it. That would be really, I think that would be a really cool way of doing it. But like I said, I don't remember if, yeah, you will not be getting up to fight again after that. Oh yeah, oh wow, they were still apparently around. So yeah, matchlocks were still apparently around. So that, I think that would be the way to do it, is have the finisher be, like I said, after he cuts your legs out from, after they cut your legs out from under you, they pull the pistol out of its holster, light the match, prime the pan, light the match, and then shoot you with it. The pistol would be loaded, but it wouldn't be primed, and the match wouldn't be lit, just for the extra style of going through that process. It's like, I'm just like, fuck you in particular. Because like I said, you saw that. I don't know if you were here, or how you were here very early on in the story, but there was a point where we're riding along, where Jacek is riding along on his horse, and he's got a wheel lock pistol on him, and one of the guys that's with Barabash has a musket. Oh yeah, it would be like their special finisher. Because like some characters have that. For example, Marta will grab them, cut them across their belly, and then run them through from behind. Barabash will grab you, cut your sword arm out, and then decapitate you. It would be like the specific, like special finisher that is super risky to do. Here, let me just go into like the training thing just to show you real quickly what I'm talking about. Ugh. That was not a good win. So it would be, like I said, they cut your legs out from under you, and then they go through like that very, the slow process of priming the pistol, lighting the match, and then shooting you with it. Or even if it wasn't a matchlock, just the process of unholstering the pistol would only be like the thing you see, because it would be, again, it would be for a finisher. Woof. Oh, we're getting winded. I think he might have cut our leg out too. Oh no, we're good. We're just winded. Oh, ow. in the face. I will take that. I will take that. Oh, now we get to play it. Now we get to play as Marta. Oof. This is the thing I also say about Marta. Marta and Marie both are actually fairly hard to actually use. And a lot of it is because your weapon is so optimized for thrusting that against a saber, you can be very vulnerable. Especially Marta with her stance, with the Spanish stance. If you keep your arm straight like that, that makes you very open.
Oh yeah.
Blech. Oof. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not drunk. You're drunk. I love this monk. I love the drunk monk. Double! Oof! Woof! Yeah, mad lad with a long sword indeed. Ah, we're still him though. We're still the Alco. Yeah, this is how they used to do it in Insert Appropriate Crusade. I mean, it's like 1670. It's like 1675, I think, in the game, so I think it's been a while since the last Crusade. It's been a while. I think this is like, it had been a while since the last Crusade. That's because it is painful, Ima. It looks painful because it is painful. Ooh, it is unnerving trying to get close to him. Yeah, it really is. Ooh, that was sloppy right there. Just tangled up, you know, swords binding like that. Just trying to get it up out of the bind. I like her. I like her a lot. Yeah, I know exactly. Fighting like children, yeah. Oh. Bleh. Got too close there. Got way too close there. Oh! Like I said, she is legitimately hard to use. When you get it right, she's dominant. She can just dominate space, but she is so hard to use. I can see why Tarnowski likes the Dusak. It suits him. Oh! Sword arm gone. But yeah, like I said, punished Samuel. A man denied his armor. Oof! Also, her design also reminds me of, do you remember Century? Remember Century? Century's version of like the rapier character? She reminds me of that. It's like the hat in particular. If she had a cloak in her offhand, it would be even closer. Yeah. Oh, pull back. We're getting a little winded. Go in. Ah, sloppy. We've got to try and get in under that shield. Eh. Ooh, perfect! Ooh, he went for the kick and got punished! Yeah, somehow found the opening. Oh, now it's our turn to be oppressive. The she-wolf of Ruthenia. I can see how you would call her that. After having fought her. Oof! Does she have a shield bash? Yes, she does! Ooh, the double hit! So you can use it defensively like I'm doing there where I'm holding it out, but in a fight, yeah, you actually do have to think about when you're how to use it. It isn't just an like it lets you be really oppressive, but it's not like an instant win button. Ooh, let's see if I can get Barabash's finisher off now. Not really. Not really. No, I didn't have to aim it. I didn't actually have to aim the block. But if you have somebody who goes, you can absolutely attack around a block. And when you do, having that outstretched arm becomes extremely vulnerable. Oh, yes! See, that's the move I was talking about with Baravash, where he grabs you and decapitates you. Marta's is arguably even nastier. Ooh, in the mouth! Ooh, hooked in the mouth with the axe blade. That's terrifying. That is actually terrifying. Oof. I did not expect that to work. Estilo de alcohol. 12%. Ooh. Also, that reminds me. So, there's a character. You remember? I mentioned Mortal Kombat earlier. Do you remember Bo Raicho? Because there was actually a character. There was actually a character in Mortal Kombat. I forget which game. I forget if it was. I think he was in Deadly Alliance, but his name was Bo Raicho. And the entire reason he was called that is because it sounds like borracho, which is drunk. And that's literally his whole bit, is he's drunk. Ooh. I don't remember he was in any other games aside from Deadly Alliance, but I remember he was in Deadly Alliance. And like I said, his entire thing was he was a drunk fighter. Ooh, pretty. He did. He did have a fart attack, Sogo. You're absolutely right about that one. He 100% had a fart attack. Immediately. But actually, like I said, you know what I think? So we have the Ottomans, we have the two Ottoman characters, right? You know what I think? I kind of am. I do think it would be interesting if we got something like a Chinese, or I don't know how you would explain it, because like I said, this is like well after the establishment of Sakoku. A Chinese or Japanese character would be interesting, like I said, like a samurai or a Chinese merchant, maybe like perhaps like a Chinese merchant would be really interesting to see. Again, like I said, I don't know how you would explain a samurai because Sakoku is a thing at this point in history, but if you could figure it out, that would be interesting to see. Ooh, I did not think I was gonna win that. because you would definitely want to try and make it somehow fit in the historical context. So, and that's the thing, but you want it to fit in the historical context. That's the complicated part. Ooh, immediately! Hand off! They do. They absolutely do. Another thing, but also, aside from like geographically interesting things, the other thing I think would be interesting, so you saw how like Yendrick has the axe, right? I think it'd be really interesting if we had another character that could be really interesting to see, is somebody who, even when they're using like an actual weapon rather than like a wooden training weapon, their weapon is it's a blunt weapon. A blunt weapon would be very interesting to see how that would work. Like some kind of mace or like some kind of like mace or club. Just show like, again, just a demonstration of you don't really need a sharp edge to make a lethal weapon. In fact, this guy right here, the one I'm playing as right now, he would have been a great character to do that with if he wasn't already in the game. Is have him with some kind of blunt weapon. Oh, we're on a boat. Actually, no. Oh, I just realized how you can explain a samurai character, Sogo. Because I just realized, so the story mode that you saw there when we were playing as Yachik, that takes place in Ruthenia, right? But see how this fight right now, we're on a boat, right? You could have fights on, say, Dejima, because even during Sakoku, that was like the one place where foreigners could, and you know, those are the one part of Japan that foreigners could enter at the time was Dejima. It was mostly the Dutch, but still. It's like you could have like, it would be a little weird historically. It'd be a little weird historically, but you could stretch it enough to make it fit if you really wanted to. Kind of like the same way you see here, we have this character who's a Scottish mercenary. You kind of like, you were wondering how the hell is a Scotsman? What the hell's a Scotsman doing in Poland? The answer is, well, the Royal Navy gets everywhere. For the most part, it's in Poland, but I don't think it's entirely. I don't know if it's entirely in Ruthenia. But if they wanted to expand it beyond Ruthenia, I think that would be a way of that would be a place that would work. Because that boat could just be an example for that could, I don't know, that boat wasn't necessarily at sea. I think that may have just been like a Danube River boat. Ooh, mirror match. Yeah, which, like you said, would make a lot more sense if they were Chinese. So, like, somebody, you know, a Chinese merchant would make a lot of sense there. or would make more sense anyways. It's like how we have I forget what his name is, Alexander, the African character. They mentioned he specifically is a former Turkish soldier, a former Ottoman soldier, and then you have Hassan, who is a current Ottoman soldier. I don't know if the other guy was an Ottoman soldier, but they both came with the Ottoman army. Oh, we walked ourselves onto that one. One of our, speaking of Japanese history of that period though, one of the things that's really interesting when you look at it, actually how, you know, the Japanese sword gained the reputation it did, even though, like, when you look at it, you realize how much of it comes down to specifically the Edo period, after, you know, when the Tokugawas had already, you know, the unification of the Tokugawa, of the country under the Tokugawas, and then moved, you know, the samurai moving from the battlefield into being off, you know, like being government officials. Ooh. Especially since historically, when they were on the battlefield, the primary weapon of the samurai was they were primarily horse archers. Ugh. Like, that was primarily how they actually were fighting historically, is as mounted archers. Yeah, no, their primary weapons were either the Yari long spear or as a mount. They'd either be using the Yari long spear, the long spear does the Yari, or they would be mounted archers. But then, like I said, the Edo period comes along, samurai leave the battlefield, primarily, you know, they're primarily government officials under the Tokugawas. Which also leads to kind of you see the same thing happen in Europe at that time as well. It's also one of those things where it becomes less of a practical, while it still is usable as a weapon, it's less of a practical weapon and more of a symbol of office. Almost a sort of, religious is not the right word, but I'm trying to think of a word that has like a similar sort of connotation. It is very much meant to, it does take on an almost spiritual aspect, where it's both a symbol of office and it's a status symbol, but also it almost takes on like a religious, almost a spiritual context as a way of maintaining that connection to their past, to their martial past. Although the result of that is much of that martial past being heavily romanticized, but that tends to happen when you have somebody, you know, a group with a long martial history who then has to leave that behind and do something else. You often will see that sort of romanticization. You saw it in Europe as well in the early modern period when, you know, with how knights really stopped being a thing on the battlefield, and a lot of the people who came from who were like the descendants of knights, again, they became lords, they became government officials, and you saw a lot of that same pattern that you saw with Edo period samurai. Oh, we're back with the Scotsman now. Also, something interesting. I'm looking at the Scottish guy at Connor. He has like something that really also does mark him as a foreigner that you don't think about is the fact that he's wearing socks. Actually, if you think about, again, the historical context of it, the fact that he's wearing socks actually is a really good way of, like, it is actually one of those little details, not a really good way of, like, but it's one of those little details you don't think about that really marks him as being a foreigner. Because socks were very much not a thing in this part of Europe. Instead, they would often wear, instead of socks, you would have these cloth, these like wrapping cloths that you would wrap around your legs and your feet and legs, and then wear that under your shoes. Ooh, again with the axe hook. Oh, it's not going into their mouth. It's going on their neck. It was just kind of a weird collision bug that made it look like it was hooking in her mouth, which that would have been terrifying, but yeah, no. Yeah, no. Socks were very much kind of, actually, socks would have been very novel in this part of Europe at the time. Because think about what you need in order to make socks. You really do need the beginnings of at least some early industrial processes in order to make socks. You think about it. Ooh, got her in the sword arm. Hey. Oh no, we're on fire now. Yeah, having a lot of sheep definitely helps, especially since wool, wool is a fantastic fabric. Not so good if you're in a hot climate. Not so good if you're in a hot climate, but wool is a fantastic material in general. the ladies in the background just running around though. There's something just kind of silly about that. This game. So I compared this game to Bushido Blade, right? I compared this game to Bushido Blade, but honestly, a lot of the arenas in this do a great job of like, they have a bit of silliness to them that is very Mortal Kombat-y. Oh! Oh no! For a second there, I thought they were gonna do the thing like have the monk like having you at the sword point, like you're like begging, and then he stumbles and falls with the sword going through you. Like that would have absolutely fit. Oof. Wow. Yeah, I can see why Hassan is terrifying. Those quick. Those close in. Those close in hits like that where it's like really hard to track, you know, to track actually where he's going and guard against it. That is nasty. Woo! Quick and deadly. Yeah, trying to make it look like an accident. Yeah. Na 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 na. Ooh. Again, do not underestimate the power of the pole. Sharp things on a stick are devastating. Oh, thought that would have been a double hit. Ugh. Whew. Ooh. That was sloppy. Also, this game has a first-person mode, by the way. You have to do like something to unlock it. But I've seen that. I've seen the devs, like devlogs of that. That looks absolutely terrifying. Trying to actually like fight like this in first person, that just looks terrifying. It's not a VR thing, but trying to do that would be absolutely terrifying. Oh yeah, no, I'm just saying. Oh no, what I mean is, the first person is not just for VR. That's what I mean by that. Like you're right, this game has VR, but yeah, the first person mode in this isn't just for VR. Woo! Ooh, but also ad breaks about to start soon. I think we're gonna call it during this one. So let's go see who's on. We can go say hello to. Who is around right now? That's the real question. Let's see. Actually, you know what? I know. I already see who. I think I see who we're gonna raid. So let's go see what Morika's up to. Let's go see what Moriko's up to. And in the meantime, if you want to see what I'm up to off stream, these are all the places you can find me. Get that for the YouTube side as well. And the raid message to go with that. And I think that really only leaves one thing left to say. I'm pretty sure at this point you already know what it is.